broadcasting live from the Business Radio X studios in Houston, Texas. It's time for Houston Business Radio. Now, here's your host.
Hello, Houston. Trisha Stetzel here, bringing you another episode of Houston Business Radio. You know, I love a guest who brings equal parts strategy and heart. And today's guest does exactly that. I'm so excited to welcome Lyndsay Dowd, a leadership strategist, founder of Heartbeat for Hire, award-winning podcast host, and unapologetic storyteller with nearly 30 years in sales and leadership. Lyndsay has built powerhouse teams, transformed cultures, and helped executives show up with confidence, clarity, and yes, a little swagger. She advises C-suites, coaches high-level leaders, and delivers keynotes and workshops that challenge the status quo and actually get results. I'm almost done, Lyndsay. I'm loving this. Her podcast, Heartbeat for Hire, is ranked in the top 5% globally and recently won Best Business Podcast at the Women in Podcasting Awards. Lyndsay's work blends candor, charisma, and strategy, and I can't wait for you to hear how she's helping others build irresistible cultures that people truly want to be a part of. Lyndsay, welcome to the show.
What an intro. Thank you, Trisha. I'm so happy to be here. We've been working on this for a little bit, so this is fun.
Exactly. Well, and I love bringing bios forward because we don't always take it in ourselves, and it's not something we would say about ourselves, but it makes it feel pretty good, or us feel pretty good when someone else is saying it. And you're amazing. I'm so glad to have you on the show, Lyndsay. First, let's start with, who is Lyndsay? Tell us a little more about you, and then let's jump into the work that you're doing with your clients.
I would love to. Thank you. I spent a whole lot of time in corporate America, about 25 years, and 23 of those was spent climbing the ranks at IBM. And my family put in 105 years at Big Blue. So I literally grew up in that culture. My dad used to sell typewriters. I went to the office in Manhattan and would sit in the chairs and play on the typewriters and the highlighters, and literally grew up in that culture. And I thought that that's what business looked like. And at that time, it was really diverse. It was very family oriented. And there was these things called branches. And so if you were part of a branch, you knew everybody's kids. You got to rent out an amusement park for the day. You got to really hang out. So I thought this was business. I thought this was cool. And found myself there through an acquisition. I came in through Lotus, which if you ask any Lotus person, they'll tell you they acquired IBM. But I started in customer service and worked my way up to executive ranks and used to lead big sales teams for them, and got to do a lot of first of a kind roles. It was a really cool, really decorated career, and I learned some great lessons along the way. And at the end of 23 years, I was ready for a change. And another company sought me out and said, "Would you come lead a sales team for us?" And I said, "Sure." And so I packed up my Big Blue legacy. Off I went. And any reasonable executive knows it takes about 6 months for a new executive to find the bathroom. That's not how it went for me. And they fired me at 6 months. And I was gutted, devastated. I thought no one would ever work with me again. I was sure I was the only executive to ever be fired on earth. And I really couldn't even talk about it for the first couple of weeks. And after a month of licking my wounds, I asked myself 3 questions. What am I really good at? What do I love to do? And how can I help people the most? And I knew how to build modern leaders, and I knew how to create irresistible culture that drives results. And so I bet on myself, and I started my company, Heartbeat for Hire, which, by the way, my parents were not entrepreneurs. As you know, my dad was legacy IBM. My mother was a school teacher. So like entrepreneurship was very foreign, very scary, not secure. So didn't really have a lot of support from them. But I did it anyway. And so I started coaching C-suites and individual leaders. I wrote a couple of books. I started my podcast. And today I am keynoting. I'm doing a little coaching. I just finished a stint as a CRO for a startup. And I'm doing some executive workshops, some LinkedIn workshops, and how do you tell your story. So right now I'm doing a bunch of different things. And I love it. And it's terrifying and wonderful and exhilarating and fascinating all at the same time.
I love that, Lindsay. And that is exactly how we got connected because we have IBM in
Yes,
connections. And yes, I'm so excited that we found each other. And I would like to know a little bit more about the clients that you're working with. So would you mind
sure.
sharing like who those people are or just describe to us who it is that you're working with?
Yeah, I work with kind of a myriad of different folks. And, when you start out, you have this idea of this is exactly who I'm going to be working with. And it doesn't always happen that way. So you get these calls from people that have engaged with your posts and they're like, okay, so I was a CFO and now I'm a CEO and I don't think my people like me. Can you help? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I can help. Oh, yeah. So we were going to hone your voice. And so we used tools like LinkedIn and we used all hands calls and things that are already happening in their business to really help her stand out. That was actually a really wonderful story. That leader was to go from a CFO to a CEO is a really hard leap because you're really close to the numbers and you're probably not the strongest people leader. And she kind of was missing a little bit of that. So I just reminded her of her humanity. And she was very, buttoned up and very still and stoic. And I said, okay, okay, let's talk like we're having cocktails and we're girlfriends meeting out. Tell me about your business that way. And she was still like really monotone. And I'm like, that is not how you talk when you're having cocktails. And so I really kind of had to pull it out of her. But I get to do that. I get to do a lot of leaders who have never had to pay attention to their brand. They might find themselves out of a job. They might find themselves on the verge of losing a job or totally burnt out. And they know they need to step up. They know they need to build a network. And they're kind of going, oh my God, I don't know how to start. And then I get to work with teams. So very often, you'll have a really talented team, but they're not working great together. And so when you can kind of show them each other's humanity, give them a reason to be interested in each other. You create those connections that make them more invested and more interested in learning. And you give them some, what I think are really simple tools, but no one's ever taught them on just how to be a better leader, how to be more human, more authentic, more vulnerable, and change the culture of their place. So that's kind of who I work with. And I get some weird ones every once in a while that have nothing to do with any of those things, but yeah, that's
It
pretty much.
happens. They're attracted to your energy, right? What you're bringing to the table. So, do the words imposter syndrome resonate with you at all, or even with the clients that you work with?
Of course. I mean, I think they resonate with everyone, no matter what you're doing. And whether I was at IBM doing a first of a kind role, when you're new to something, you don't know everything. And newsflash, nobody does. So you kind of just have to learn to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that kind of status, I mean, coming up in tech, being the only woman in tech for about a decade, not the only woman in the company, but the only woman on the teams that I was on, um, you are so accustomed to change. You're so accustomed to things moving quickly. And just when you start to get something, they throw you a new acquisition or they throw you a new team. And you're like, damn it, I was getting so good at that. And now I got to learn new stuff. But you just kind of get used to that pace. And when you're always used to that pace, you don't know any different. So the difference when you're on your own, it all falls on you. So that's kind of like, oh, who's gonna work with me? I'm not with Big Blue anymore. Or I'm just little heartbeat for hire. But somebody finds my story inspiring. Somebody looks at what I've done and they're like, damn it, I could learn from her. This is good. So yeah, I would just say if anybody is starting something new, find the people that are doing it really well and go
Mhm.
ask them, what'd you do wrong? What should I avoid? And what are some tips for success? Because when you surround yourself with people who make you better, you're just going to get better.
Absolutely. And no, you're not alone. We've
No,
all gone through it and we continue to go through it as things shift and
100%.
change. So, Lindsay, you talked about being the only one growing up in tech and being in the business that you were in. How has that played into this role that you are in now as an entrepreneur?
Mm. Well, I said I was the only woman. And so that, let me make that distinction. So, first, let me just say back in the day when I was the only girl on the team, um, inspiring leadership meant let's talk about the play on the 30-yard line of the game that I did not watch. And I wasn't inspired by that. I couldn't relate to that. I didn't care about that. And I felt excluded more than anything. And it was an uninspired way to do my job, and I was always hungry for that connection, that someone who could see me and who could, get me. And I'm weird. I always called my teams Mavericks and Hustlers because I wanted us to think differently. I knew I didn't have all the answers. I knew there was other people that had done things that I had never tried, and I always wanted to learn from them. So taking that spirit, and then I was lucky enough to work for some great leaders, many of whom were women. And I had one woman who, her name's Adriana, and she promoted me twice. And she asked me the first time, she said, "So how do you want to run the business?" And I'm looking over my shoulder going, you want you want to know? You're asking me? And she was like, "Well, yeah, you've been in the trenches. You know what's going on. So tell me." And I felt autonomy, for really the first time in a leadership role that way. I had another leader who I was managing a huge account. It was Ernst& Young. I had a $150 million quota. It was enormous, a lot of responsibility. There's 55 reps on my team. And I'm telling my new boss, this is my plan. This is what I want to do. This is how I'm going to approach it. And I'm about like 15 minutes into my presentation, and she stops me and she goes, "Girl, I've got your back. Now fly."
Mm.
Those words, they took I mean, they made me gasp. I was like, "Oh my gosh, goosebumps," then goosebumps still when I tell that story. But I took that energy and I turned around to my team and was like, "You guys, we have an opportunity to do things differently. We've got a leader who trusts us. What do we want to do with this?" And those two examples are such powerful examples of what good leadership looks and feels like. And so much of what I do is taking from those experiences, grabbing other experiences that I find, whether it's on LinkedIn or on my show. I'm always trying to teach through story. That's how I keynote. That's how I do my show, my podcast show. It's what I'm doing here. But yeah, story is king. And when I get to work with clients, I always remind them story over stats every day of the week. Nobody's going to walk out remembering 83% of something, but they are going to remember, how do you want to run the business? Or they are going to remember, I got your back, now fly.
I love that. I got goosebumps too, by the way.
Yeah,
So thank you for
good.
sharing that energy with me. It's coming
Yeah.
through the screen. How exciting.
Yeah.
I know it's hard to believe we're halfway through our conversation already. So if folks are ready and want to have a conversation with you or want to connect with you, what is the best method?
Well, you can find all of my socials and my stuff at heartbeatforhire.com. Please connect with me on LinkedIn or on Insta. That's where I'm the most active. I am on TikTok. I am on Facebook, albeit not that active, but I am there. And of course, YouTube. My show is, you can also find the podcast through there, but my show is on YouTube and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. So lots and lots of good stories about what good leadership should be.
I love that. Thank you, Lindsay. And her first name is spelled Lyndsay, last name Dowd. As always, I'll put all of the links in the show notes. So if you're sitting in front of your computer watching or listening, you can just point and click. Lindsay, I heard you say a few minutes ago that it's important to surround yourself with the right people. What does that
Yeah.
mean?
Oh, well, I mean, back to the I don't know everything. Um, I still believe that no matter how good you get, no matter how many awards you earn, no matter how many books you write, there's still more to learn. And the day you stop learning is the day you're in the dirt. So, to me, I always want to be around people that make me better. Either they inspire me, they teach me something, they help me level up. They expose me to people I've never seen or met before. And I think when you live with that kind of curiosity and you live with that hunger to be inspired and hunger to make your life better, it just never stops. And so I collect people. Some people collect spoons. I collect people, and I'm always adding people. I'm the person that sits at the bar and will talk to you in an airport and learn all these things about you. And before you know it, you're either coming on my show or I'm dragging you over to a community I'm in or something like that. But I find people so fascinating and interesting, and there's always something to be learned.
Or you're introducing them to your network, or
Yeah,
right? I mean, it just happens.
100%.
I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
I tell everyone, if you're not hanging around with people who are bigger, better, faster, stronger, smarter than you're in the wrong
yeah.
room, and you
Oh
need to.
yeah. I never wanted to be the smartest person in the room. And that is a scary thing for a lot of leaders to say. It's funny, my brother and I, we share a really similar leadership philosophy, and he's a VP of sales. And we laughed that we both say this when we walked into a room of teams we were managing. We're like, I'm not the smartest one here, so let's talk, let's marinate on some ideas. And we had a good chuckle that we both did that. I thought that was pretty funny because we didn't go to the same schools, we didn't go to the same companies, but we shared that same spirit.
I love that. So there's something you call power skills, and I think this plays right into the conversation that we're having
Yeah,
today around the things that we need to be thinking about, the people we should be hanging around with. And
yeah.
let's talk more about power skills. What does it mean?
Yeah, so power skills are what I call soft skills. And the reason I don't call them soft skills is they're far too important to be called anything soft. So, back when that was coined, they were associated with women, and they were EQ and being sensitive and being a thoughtful, nurturing leader. Well, yes, there are those things, but there's a lot of power skills. So, like, one of my favorites is delegation. And delegation, I wouldn't associate that necessarily with women, but when you use delegation properly, and the way that you do that is you say, "Oh, Trisha, you're interested in analytics. I have an analytics project. I want you to run point on it, but I've got your back. If you fall down, that's on me, but I want to give you a chance to shine. So let me help you, but I want you to lead this. Does that sound good to you?" And you're like, "Oh, wow, so exciting. I get to do something I've been dying to do." So, yes, you're getting things off your plate, but you are giving people a chance to shine, which leads me to another power skill, which is lifting others up, celebrating people. And the best leaders understand that they don't need to keep all the accolades to themselves. Their team is a reflection of them. So when they're constantly saying, "Oh, Trisha, will you please tell the story of how you won that deal? It was such a unique story. I think we could all really learn from you. Could you share that?" Okay, I'm giving you the spotlight. You're getting to tell a story. You're hearing that I respect you and everybody's paying attention. So that looks good on you. It looks good on me. And the leaders that are constantly celebrating, constantly lifting others up, they're the ones everyone wants to work for. And oh, by the way, the team is watching. So they're seeing, hey, I want my name in lights. I want to be celebrated like Trisha. How can I do that? And they raise their hands more. They're engaged more. They're connecting with her, with you. This is a really great way to lead. And then of course there's communication, which that's table stakes, but you know no one's a mind reader. And oh, by the way, if you think that your one-time annual review is an appropriate way to lead, I'm telling you it's not. So stop that. You need to be checking in with your people way more than that.
hmm
So,
Yeah, I fantastic. And I love the idea of power skills versus soft skills, because that
yeah.
word really doesn't have any intention behind it. Soft
Mhm.
does it, but
These are
power.
differentiators.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like what makes a good leader a great leader.
Mhm.
And having that humility, having that authenticity, and admitting if you screw up. I just had a girlfriend, really great friend of mine. She's a leader for a company called Cooler Heads. They make caps for people going through chemo so they don't lose their hair. And
Okay.
She actually did a post about this. She said, I showed up on a team call. She's in the process of moving. Her life is pretty chaotic. And she said she wasn't her best self. And she did not show up the way that she wanted. And she spoke very curtly to someone on the team. And the first thing she did was call and apologize. And then she addressed the whole team and said, I wasn't at my best. I can do better than that. I'm really sorry you all saw it, but I hope you won't see that again. Well, do you think all those people are now going, "Pff, Courtney, what a lousy leader"? No, they're like, wow, that was really nice. And that was really scary for her to admit. And I make mistakes too. And I'm going to give her more grace. I mean, that's really how it works.
Yeah.
So it's a good lesson.
Absolutely. And I wrote an article recently about that specifically, how, if you're a leader and you trip and you
Hmm.
fall,
We all do.
how do you come back from that? And
Hmm.
it really is about standing up and saying, you know what, I made a mistake. And here's what we're going to do about it. Right. I
Oh,
think that's
I did it today. My daughter knocked over a very precious glass from my grandmother, and it shattered in a million pieces, and it's priceless. It can't be replaced, and it was a heartache. And she felt really badly, but she was yelling at me to get out of the room so she could clean it up. And I responded with, "You can't yell at me if you're sorry. Like you don't yell at me. Like you broke something important to me." And we cooled down, and I said to her later, I said, I shouldn't have yelled at you. I'm sorry, but you need to work on when you're really sorry. You can't yell at the person if you're really sorry. That doesn't really work very well. And she's like, Mom, I just felt really badly. And, it was great. We calmed down, we addressed it and cleared the air. But I had to say, I did it wrong. That
Mhm.
happens.
Yeah. And as leaders, we should be acting the same whether someone's looking or not, meaning
Right.
it happens in your personal life. And that's
100%.
exactly what you showed your daughter. So, as a mom to a beautiful young lady, and I also heard you say that you had women who supported you as you were
Hmm.
coming up in corporate, and it sounds like you continue to support women. How
Oh,
important is it for us to, I'll call it circle the wagons, because, well, I'm in Texas and I would just say that, but how important is it as women to circle the wagons and raise up young women and those who are coming
yeah.
up and support them?
So important. To me, giving back, paying it forward, call it what you want. I mentor a lot of young women sellers who are trying to find their place. They're trying to move around the world with executive presence. They're not entirely sure what that looks like because maybe they haven't had great leaders before. So I'm kind of a safe space because I'm kind of no BS and you can come ask me anything and I'm not going to tell you you're dumb. So it's really important to give back because I'm raising future leaders and I have twins. I have boy-girl twins. So my son and my daughter both have to learn from these moments. They have to learn to be the best people. Because if we don't fix that, and we have this whole like gentle parenting movement where we're telling, no, 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 I don't want you to feel uncomfortable. No, no, no. I want you to feel uncomfortable. I want you to, go through it, problem solve. It's okay. No one ever died from being uncomfortable. You're gonna be all right. It's a really important skill set that I think this generation of kids that's coming up right now, they don't really have good tools to manage themselves, and that's a big problem. So we got to fix it.
Yeah, I agree. We have a son who's going to be 34 this year, so at the top end of that generation that we're raising. And sometimes I look around and go, "Did we do this? Did we do this?" We were military parents, so we
Yeah.
definitely didn't do that.
Uh-huh.
But I see it, right, and it's really hard to get past
It
sometimes.
is.
All right, so as we get to the back end of our conversation today, I know this time went by so fast,
So
Lindsay.
fast.
What, you know who my listeners are, small to
Mhm.
medium-sized business owners, people who are entrepreneurs, they're also leaders, they have teams, small teams, large teams. What would you want them to leave with today,
Mm.
Lindsay?
Well, first I would just say everybody can be a leader, whether you manage people from an HR perspective or not, anybody can lead and anybody can lift each other up. And you make that choice to do that. But I promise you, if you start celebrating people, and this could be passing someone on the sidewalk, you have a beautiful smile, or gosh, you look great today, or, I love how you talk to your son, or whatever it is. If you start living in that space and you do it with your employees, you will change the culture around you. And those words might feel small, but they are extremely powerful. So please, if you get nothing else out of this lovely conversation, just go lead with heart, go be kind, go lift other people up. That always looks good on you.
I love that. I saw a commercial the other day that said, just smile at someone. It can change things in an instant for both you and the person receiving.
100%.
I love that. So, Lyndsay, one more time, tell us how people can connect with you, because I'm betting that there are several people who want to connect with you.
Oh, I hope so. Yeah, just come check my website at Heartbeat for Hire. It's much easier than trying to spell my name. So you can connect with me through there or find me on LinkedIn. I'm connected to Trisha, so that's easy to find. But yeah, I would love to be connected. Say you heard it here, and I'll know where you came from.
Love that. Thank you, Lyndsay. And by the way, Lyndsay's a LinkedIn guru that I plan to learn from. I'm really excited about watching as you're taking your journey. I'm going to follow behind you because I love what you're putting out there for the
It's a
world.
really great tool that will set you apart. And if you're a leader, even with a small company, that is still such a great way to represent yourself. And even if you think your business is just local, there is massive opportunity for you on LinkedIn. And I'm not paid by LinkedIn.
And not just opportunities to sell something.
That's right.
Beautiful networking opportunities, which is how I found Lyndsay
That's
in
right.
the first place, right? We had
That's right.
something in common, and it's a great way to get out there and network, especially if
Yeah.
you're sitting in your four walls for most of your day. Lyndsay, thank you so much for being on with me today. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation.
Same. Thanks for having me. This was a blast.
It was very much fun today. Lots of energy. That's all the time we have for today. If you found value in this conversation, share it with a fellow entrepreneur, a veteran, or a Houston leader ready to grow. Be sure to follow, rate, and listen. It helps us reach more bold business minds just like yours. Your business, your leadership, and your legacy are built one intentional step at a time. So stay inspired, stay focused, and keep building the business and the life you deserve.